My name is Ricardo Pena, and I am a professional mountain guide. I have been interested in the story of the Andes survivors ever since I was a young boy, and I served as mountain consultant on this documentary. The first time I visited the crash site was during an expedition to northwestern Argentina in 2005. Not only was I stunned by the majesty of the glacial valley, I also happened upon numerous relics from the crash. Part of an old propeller, seat parts, and even an old coat with money identification still inside. This was how I got hooked up with Eduardo Strauch. The coat that I found belonged to him. I contacted him, and a friendship soon developed. We now do yearly expeditions to the crash site. We lead expeditions in January during the warmer austral summers, when there isn't too much snow cover. January 2010 was a special trip because we brought along Andy Streitfeld, executive producer of the project, and his son Daniel to shoot footage of the crash site for the documentary. I had already been interviewed for the program as a mountain expert, and I was eager to lend my mountaineering skills in support of the project. Getting to the actual site is quite arduous. We start the trip in Mendoza, deep in the wine country of northwestern Argentina. We then take vans south towards a smaller city called San Rafael, at which point we load up with all the food and supplies that we will need for our entire journey. At this point we have to drive the van across a long and pretty rough dirt road up to the foothills of the Andes. There we take all of our gear off the vans, load it onto horses and mules, and after a meal of chorizo and goat, head off. The horseback ride starts off with a minor thrill. We have to ford the expansive Atuel River. After the crossing, the grade increases, and we make our way through meadows and large hills. The site is located in a stunning valley, notched halfway between the smaller hills and the enormous snow-capped peaks further in the range. We spend a night in the lower campsite, acclimatizing and getting ready for the final push. We also have a great cook out there, an Argentine horse wrangler who goes by the name of Cachorro, which means puppy in Spanish. It's always a fun guy to have around. And at night, we always set up a presentation in which survivor Eduardo Strauch goes back and tells his version of the ordeal.
Y aprendí muchas cosas que me han servido hasta el día de hoy, me siguen sirviendo. Y todo ese sufrimiento del año 72 se está revirtiendo, es una cosa que me tiene asombrado, ¿no? Cómo se ha revertido y todo ese dolor y esa angustia y toda esa cosa tan negativa y tan difícil se ha convertido en algo súper positivo que me ha enseñado montones de cosas para ser más feliz.
He gets emotional every time he comes back, thinking about the friends he lost up there.
Es muy importante. Me siento bastante estúpido siempre que me emociono. 62 años después, y 37 años después, mejor dicho, con 62 años, y cada vez que me meto en la historia me emociono mucho.
The following day we complete the last leg of the journey, up rocky switchbacks, until finally the landscape gives way to an enormous glacial valley, even if it were not for the history of the place. The Valley of Tears is a truly stunning physical location. I like to describe it as a giant icebox, surrounded by huge mountains on 3 out of 4 sides. The only things up here, even in the summer, are ice, snow, and rock. And up here we're at an elevation of around 12,000 feet, so there's about 1/3 less oxygen than usual. So even after the acclimatization process we undertake, breathing is difficult, exertion is difficult.
Almost there.
During the day, I like to take the more adventurous group physically out onto the glacier to the exact location of the fuselage. We always have to be careful to watch out for crevasses, which are deep holes in the glacier, which can easily be hidden by a thin layer of snow. Once we get to the exact spot where the fuselage was, I point out all the sites people are familiar with, the impact point of the airplane, the view towards El Sosneado volcano, and the 15,000-foot head wall that Nando and Roberto climbed during their hike out. The January 2010 trip to the Valley of Tears was a huge success. We had a large group spend the night up at the crash site, and we were able to explore extensively around that area.
So I'm very clear that was something very important for me in my life. And I come back to this site every year to not to forget all what I learned here, and to be close to this nature that make me feel part of something bigger, something universal.